Hey there, welcome to Area 51 Raceway. Today I want to do a video on how to set up tire to wheel clearance on your 3A3D model, specifically the late model car, and this could apply to any other of the kits that we have too. One of the most important thing is to have the appropriate, or I say appropriate, the good amount of tire to wheel clearance on your model to the body, to relation to the tire and all that stuff in the wheel. One thing I see a lot of, even in scratch building, is people have a lot of wheels and tires that foul either the chassis or the body, and that also, what that does is slow the car down and gives it a lot of resistance, and then it's not as fast as it could be. And this video is just to kind of cover that. I will specifically be covering the model number 5 late model car that we used in the last race, which was on the Labor Day, which is the very first 3D, all 3D printed proxy, which is cool. I want to thank everybody for participating, and what I want to do is show you what I do to set up my car, so this way it doesn't have any tire to body issue or to chassis issue where you're having rubbing issues where it slows the car down. And I have one here that I just finished put together. I'm going to go over this one and what I did. We have changed the pod design and stuff, so it shouldn't affect anything with wheelbase, or wheel width and anything. It should be within just like the old one, but this car right here is just set up in the way that the stance on it is perfect, because we've also adjusted the front axle, which is important, and Harry would already cover a video on that, and also truing tires. What I'm just going to specifically talk about is the tire clearance, what you need to do, and it's really easy. It's not that hard, and it won't take you long to do. Once you do it one time, it'll just be instant like that. Very simple to do. So let's go over to the bench, and we'll talk about this, and I'll show you on the track also how this thing runs as well after when it's all set up. So let's get to it. All right, so here we're at my bench here up in Hangar 1. I do have another bench downstairs on across from Area 51 where all the printers are at, and usually I do my work there on the plastic cars. This is mainly all the brass building area that I have here for doing brass building cars, which we will be doing for the showdown. As you guys remember, the showdown's coming up, the winter race, and that'll be for the race coming up. I believe there's another class that'll be in there as well. Besides the normal class, the normal showdown, there'll be an extra added class, which usually it's a 1/25th scale. Anyways, besides that, what I want to talk about, like I said, is the tire to body clearance on these. So as you can see, what I have here, when I spin this, we have no interference whatsoever, even going side to side, no interference. And then we have no interference as well right here. Nothing binding, and getting in the way. And you can see they're just barely, clearing it just fine with no rubbing issues. I'm going to show you how I did that. I'm going to take this apart and explain what I've done. Anyways, so I'm going to remove the screws, and now you're going to see that I have, which the other one came out, is some shims here. And what's nice about the kit is that you could put a shim in here to raise the body, and it's not very hard to do, like I said. So what we have here is the model number 5, and it is set up to run real nice on the track right now. Now, after you've trued your tires, which we'll cover, and setting up your guide height, which is important, the car is at a perfect stance where we want it at. The tires are just barely dragging, so that's fine. You do want to make sure you true these to the minimum clearance that's allowed, obviously, as the rules state for the next event. As I'm trying to look for my shim, there we go. And just make sure you stay within that. But when you do true your tires, they should be all equally the same size, or if you have them a little bit smaller in the front, which in this case I do, and a little bit bigger in the back, make sure you have them separated so you don't mix them up. So with that being said, what I have done here is that on all these cars, all these model number 5 cars, and I'm sure it applies to the other ones because I think I've done the same thing, I'm going to show you what shim I have used to shim up the front. And you can see I have that much movement, which is good. Nice amount of flow there. That's what you want, is to roll nicely. And you want a little side to side play. You could take a little bit more out of that, have a teeny bit less if you want, totally up to you. Now what I'm going to do is remove my wheels and show you what shims are in here. So for all these cars, I use, and it always works every time, is two 60 thousandths nylon shims on each side for the front. So that's basically what all you need is for the front end of this car. Every time you have it in there, it sits there perfectly. That's the same thing with this one. It's the same way, although I do have actually something else in place here, which are wheel stoppers, but that's about 60 thousandths, I think, in width. I could be wrong, but this car was set up a little differently. But you can see there's no interference anywhere there, and I'll show you why this one is sitting a little higher too. So we have that amount of shims. So remember, all you need are two 60 thousandths green nylon 3/32 shims, or spacers I should call them, in between, on each side, excuse me. So that's about 120 thousandths. And you could get these from Slocka Corner. I would suggest you get a set of, all the sizes, so you have, some adjustability if you want to do something different. But this is what I use, is two 60 thousandths on each side of the front axle, and that's about it. That's all you need to have this to sit in there perfectly, so it doesn't rub anywhere inside the body here or anything like that. Now for the rear, on the rear you have to remember, when you true your tire properly, that you have to true the shoulder very well, almost to the sidewall. I didn't do this almost all the way, which I probably should have, but it clears right there. And you'll want to do that because you want to make sure that this doesn't contact with your chassis. There's a contact point where you could have issues if this is rubbing on there, because you have that big casting flash from the tires when you get them, and you don't take care of that. That's going to rub on there, and it's going to cause this car to slow down and give it issues, and that's what you want to avoid. Now I'm going to show you on this side that doesn't have the gear. I have a 20 thousandths shim right there, just like that. So let me take this wheel off just to make sure I don't put my foot in my face, which I probably will. And there we don't have anything there. So between the gear and the wheel, I have no shim. And I'll shim it up all the way, I'll push it on all the way there. And then I have my 20 thousandths on this side. And then I put my other one over here. And that's all I need. Now also, when you tighten this up, you could give it a teeny bit of you want a little bit of play, put a little bit. Don't put a lot, because if you put excess amount, this axle is going to slap around, and you're going to move your gear too as well, which will possibly cause the grinding and stripping of the gear. So I usually kind of wiggle it just a little. I kind of go back, see I wiggled it too much, and I go right about there. As long as it spins nice and free, there's a little bit of play there, maybe not, but as long as it spins nice and free like that, you don't have no resistance where it's tough. That's what you're looking for, and that's fine. And then what you have here is your 60 thousandths, like I said, on each side. So two 60 thousandths, that's 120 thousandths. You put that there, like that. Slide up on here. We'll get our other ones, put them on, and there you have it. That is just dandy right there. This never ever rubs with this amount on here. I'll give it a little bit of gap there, so I have a little bit. It's not enough though. See, that's a little bit tight. So you just have to work with this, and just work with it a little and get it to the point where you need to. That's fine right there. That's a good amount of gap. And there you have it. And then you could also test fit it by putting it around, sitting it in there, and then you could just run it around like this. See, there's there's clearance, as they say. And it's a little tight here. Now, here's another thing. So this is a little tight because it's sitting a little low. Now, this is what's really nice about this chassis also. So if I'm running into that issue, which sometimes I do, and sometimes they won't, but I always put two 20 thousandths shims in the back. The reason why I do that, because it's going to raise the body up and clear these tires more. And it's, you could glue them if you want, it's up to you, or just leave them in place like that and put the body over it, flip it over, and then you can line them up if they're out of alignment with your little tool here that you use for your your hex. And then you get your screws, and obviously you put them in. And I didn't have my old man glasses on while I'm doing this, so let me get them on because I'm having a hard time seeing. So, and we'll put those in, and then we're going to tighten them down just all the way, because usually you want body float, obviously. Right there, put that in. I won't put any on the front, but you could see how I have more clearance here. Not going to have any rubbing issues now. Since it was further in, it was starting to rub up on the top or on the sides more. But now that you've put a shim, you've made it a little bit, put the height up more, so this way it won't interfere. And that's a small little trick you could do. Now this video is for the beginners on these cars. Now I know other advanced people will do more stuff. They may do other tricks that I don't know about, or just something that they do that works for them. But this is what works for me. And if you're a first-time builder and you're sending one of these cars in, if you do exactly what I've done here, you will not have any issues with rubbing whatsoever, and the car is going to flow so much better and run so much better with all that resistance that you have when you have tires rubbing your body. And that's something you want to avoid, because that's going to cause resistance. It's going to heat up the motor. It's going to slow the car down, and you're going to get less, lap times won't be as fast. There we go. See how you move this also. You put it down. See how easy it moves? Very easy. It doesn't feel like it's, catching anywhere. Now you can see you have your stance looks really good right there. Look at that. By putting 20 thousandths up, how it tips the nose down a little. And it looks good. One thing you also have to remember is you want to make sure that you have 3/32 clearance under the chassis, and as you can see here, we have plenty of that. This is a 3/32 right here, and in the front we're just barely making it, but it makes it just fine, and that's good. That'll be fine. It's clearing, so you're good there. So that's what I want to remember, is stay within the rules. As you see, the front just makes it just a scotch, but it's fine, and that's how we pretty much set that up. So it's not very hard to do, a really easy thing to do, and every time I've done these cars this way, I haven't had a problem. This is a little bit similar to what I've done, but I put shims all the way around here, 20,000 shims, so that's why it sits a little bit higher, it seems like right there. But these tires were trued not as much. I didn't true them to O-rings. There is a minimum tire clearance, and it just, you can see how easy that car moves. There's no body rub, there's nothing. Nice and smooth, and that's what you want. And that's going to make the car run so much better and run faster and cleaner and smoother, and not have handling issues, because once you come around the corner and then the body contacts with the tire, you start getting, kick outs, or just, it just doesn't really, handle that well, and it becomes more difficult to drive, especially when you're sending your car into a proxy and you have different people driving your car. You want the car to be easy to drive so they can get you the most laps, and that's the whole point of that. But there you go. I just wanted to show you that in this video. So that's just an introduction to, what to do. And if you do this every time the way I did it, you should have no body to tire clearance at all. And if you do, reduce the amounts, or if you need more, if you need to shim it much, which I think you don't, because these cars are all printed the same. Every time you do it this way, you ain't gonna have an issue. But most important thing is to make sure you have clearance between the body and the tire, and you'll never have a problem. That's so important. A lot of people miss that on these cars, even in scratch building. Body to tire contact really causes problems, drags, and all that. So let's throw this on a track. You'll see how it sounds. And, it'll run real sweet once we got everything done there, and we'll take a gander right on the track there. Okay, we're at the track, and we're going to show you how the car runs, and how it performs. Now, what I've done also is loosen the pod screws and put tape across, like I always do, reinforcement tape. The body screws, I don't have them loose, but I will loosen them because I don't have any Loctite in them, and I usually put the purple Loctite so that they don't come completely out. We're currently working on another type of screw we could get for these that have a shoulder, so this way you can lock them down, don't have to use any purple Loctite. But you do want body float, obviously, and all that stuff. And you can see when I put it on the track, when you grab it, I'll go this way, you're going to see how nice no drag there, and you check for that. You also listen to the car. If you listen to the car, that's a real telltale when you're having issues where the gear's not mesh, something's loose. You want the car to go nice and smooth around the track, and that's what you're looking for. So I'm going to see just this nice, and you hear that, listen to that. That right there tells you that there's no body rub, there's no anything loose. Tires are nice and true. The car is nice and smooth. That's what you're designed to do when you get them all set up right. As you see, there's no body rubbing or nothing. Car does real well. And it's easy to drive because the person that's going to drive this at the proxy is going to get you more laps if you can come around the corner without it, coming off or rubbing or slowing it down. And there we go, got a crash there. Little grabbing, that little sound you hear, that little that rubbing sound is the tires actually rubbing on the wood surface. So again, when you start tuning these also, I usually place weight in my car so you could weigh your car down and you test and tune that way. You get some weight on there, drive it to see how it reacts, and go from there. As you see, nice and smooth. Very nice and smooth right there. You see how it stopped? Very nice and smooth. Now here's the other car I'll show you that I've had for a while. Oop, a little bit too much juice there. My mistake. So besides crashing, this one right here I was going to send but I didn't. This one is weighted. This is using a plastic gear, so that's why it sounds a lot quieter. It's the slotted 34 tooth plastic gear, and you use a 6.5 millimeter pinion gear from Slotted. You see this one's quieter. It's not an aluminum gear. Did you see how nice and easy that flows? You don't have any body rubbing on your tires, and that's what you want. So there you go. That's just showing you how nice and smooth that should be. Obviously this is not a plastic gear, so it'll be a little bit more noisier. But another thing too, when you break these in, you could run the motor. You run a lot of laps on them, and they're going to get faster. So it's all a matter of just how you tune it and stuff. But as you can see here, even when I'm pushing down on it, it's not dragging. You could do that as a test. If you push down in it, it's like I'm really pushing down hard to making it contact, then have an issue. But you don't want to put a lot of force because the car doesn't have all that weight on it like that. You're just pushing it like that, nice and smooth. That's the way they should be. That's how they're, how you have them set up so you don't have any issues. And again, it's got the perfect stance. So if you do this every time, it's going to have an awesome stance. And so much as so as long as you true your tires to the recommended rules that they suggest for truing the tire. I true them very little, as much as possible, enough to get them smooth. And then that's all I do. I don't keep grinding them down to get them a certain size because you're trying to compensate for the guide being into the slot. That's what the axle, adjustment is for. So remember when Harry's going to cover this, when you true your tires, you're going to set your guide height, and that'll all be done first. And then you go from there to your body mounting and your width within the body itself. You'll start checking that, after you true your tires and stuff and get your guide set up, your guide height set up, and you put the body on, and then you go from there. Of course, this has got a good amount of float. The pod moves, and you're all set right there. But that's just a video showing on how to do that. So for first timers who are putting the kits together, this is the way I do it. If you do this way every time, and you're happy with it, and it works every time, because all these cars are the same, all the chassis are the same, you're going to get the same results, guaranteed. So, but I hope that helps you out. And as always, you guys take care and have fun racing.